So just who is Omer Bhatti? We saw the 25-year-old Norwegian rapper in the front row at Michael Jackson's memorial. He was sitting there with the family. As a child, he traveled with Jackson. Court records show that Bhatti was living at Neverland in 2003. That was when the estate was raided. That was during Jackson's child molestation case. But none of that, of course, proves that he is Michael's secret son. Now, Bhatti has been quoted denying it. We called his agent for a reaction today. We didn't get a reply. So should we believe Joe Jackson when he's been estranged from his son for years? And that is the question for the man who interviewed Joe, Smokey Fontaine, Chief Content Officer for News One, joining us. Also with us now, entertainment attorney James Walker, who knows the Jackson family and is with us as well. Has been with us a lot. Smokey, I mean, you know this. Joe Jackson has been marginalized from the family for the most part. I mean, why should we believe anything he says?
You know, it's been hard to believe Joe Jackson because he's been on the red carpet. He's been a victim of sound bites. But the man that I met when I went in to have this conversation, we had a 2-hour conversation. And the question about Omer was my very last one. After a long oral history that we had together where he exposed many things and was very honest with me about his whole life story. And there's no reason to not believe Joe Jackson. He is not crazy. He is not inarticulate. He is a smart, very caring man. The man I met was a father. The man I met was a father who was grieving and who was hurting for the loss of his son. And that was a side of him that I didn't expect to have him reveal to me in our interview. But it was apparent on his face that he was someone who should be believed. And he paused for a moment before he answered the question, and he looked, and there was a trust that him and I had, and he said, you know what, yes, this is the truth. You know, this is Michael's son.
All right, so if it's true, why hasn't it come out before? Why haven't we heard anybody from the family say anything about this before?
You know, it's a good question, and I think ultimately if there will become a DNA test, that'll be the judge and jury on this, right? But, you know, you're talking about a family that's been at the pinnacle of the public eye for over 20 years. Joe Jackson has been their manager and their father and everything for 40 years, and the amount of attention that this boy would have received if he ever admitted this beforehand would have completely affected his life. He's grown up in Oslo, Norway. There's a reason you live in Oslo, Norway. It's not to be affected.
And he's still denying it, by the way.
He is still denying it, and in fact, it's not implausible that he would. I mean, for him to jump into this fray now, amidst all these you know, allegations and dramas about family and surrogacy and children and wills, would be a hugely courageous move for him to make. And I think the family is about privacy. Joe Jackson's a very, very guarded individual. We know the whole family has been. And it does not surprise me that something that happened many, many years ago is now only coming to light.
James, I just wanted to get your take on it because, as I said, you do know the family. What do you think of all this?
I watched the clip and I applaud Smokey for a great job. As a journalist, I think he's clearly telling the truth. And I think the reason, as an entertainment attorney, the reason it was kept so low profile, we knew about it for years, we had heard about it in music circles, but I think due to the public image of Michael Jackson and what they were trying to project as a family, a record label, and as an international global star, you couldn't put out there that he had a kid.
Why not? There was a lot of other stuff out there. I mean,
Sure.
That was really going to hurt his reputation?
I think the thought was damage control. I think the thought was we're trying to promote you as this, in the beginning, wholesome, clean-cut, all-American guy, and you have a kid, I believe you said Norwegian? Mm-hmm. You have a kid overseas, so clearly there was a, I hate to say it, but a cover-up in some ways, and I think Joe Jackson, when he looked in Smokey's eyes, he clearly said, yeah, he's my grandson. He's a Jackson. He danced like a Jackson. He talks like a Jackson. He walks like a Jackson, and I see no reason for him to like Campbell, but the thing I do see is someone has to pay Joe Jackson to kind of shut up now, because he's hurting the family tremendously,
well,
and I think that has to come out of this.
I do think we also have to end on this very clear fact, which is this young man is denying this is the case, and we have no proof to refute that in any way other than what Joe Jackson is claiming, and so we got to leave it at that.